All right, everyone, Hillary Clinton is now doubling down on her deplorables comments, and probably a lot of you didn't see this reported on because it wasn't really talked about. People are too busy talking about the House Intel Committee and Rex Tillerson. But Hillary Clinton came out and said, basically, there's a joke about this, about rural and suburban voters on 4chan. You just Google, I can't use the word anymore because it's probably flaggable. But outdated Hillary here has said, areas that are dynamic and looking forward voted for me. Basically, backwoodsy people with dirt floors and Bible thumpers and people that I wouldn't want to associate with unless they were my janitor or my maid, says Hillary. They voted for evil bigot Donald Trump. They're like the dying breed. Areas that are doing well voted for me. Now, if she had rephrased this a little, if she had come out and said areas that are economically fairly well off tended to vote for me, areas that are blighted because, they never saw the Obama recovery went heavily for Donald Trump, she'd actually be right. She'd be 100% accurate, and that's why she lost the election above everything else. The elitism and snobbery that she showed, in two respects, sunk her campaign. Number one, areas, small town and flyover America went heavily, heavily more red than they had before. Because Donald Trump came out and said, I actually give a damn about you. I'm going to try. I understand that there is still a problem. Not every part of the country has recovered. The Democrats, Obama and Hillary, looked at the coasts. They looked at the big cities and coastal trade-rich regions and said, oh, things are fine. There's a recovery. Look, housing crisis is over. Everything's going fine. The economy's great. Unemployment's down. But they didn't look at the Rust Belt, especially areas where you have some town. It's lost half its population because the mill closed. They never saw a recovery. After the recession, they got hammered. More than any other part of the country, the Rust Belt got hammered, and they had very little in the way of recovery. A few communities did okay. Most of them did lackluster at best. Neighborhoods that were really nice, 10 years on, they're seedy. Neighborhoods that were a bit seedy are now ghettos or they're abandoned entirely. There's your problem. And you said they were deplorable. You didn't care about them. They were the past. The coal country is dead. The Lakes region, the industry in the Great Lakes is dead. Just get over it. Basically, deal with your suffering. The Democrats don't care about you, but we do expect you to pay more taxes in order to provide handouts for people who aren't even from this country. That sunk her campaign. That's number one. Number two, she then insults these people further by never even campaigning to them. She stayed in California and New York City. She went to Chicago. She could go to Detroit, maybe. Other than that, she doesn't want to go around. It's like she wines and dines the young social justice warrior 90% white voters while pretending Bernie Sanders is like, he's a white supremacist because, look, his voters, overwhelming, they're from white college campuses. And she goes, the one time she goes and makes a pitch to black voters, she starts rambling about hot sauce. Yeah, herein lies the problem. Snobbery. It's snobbery like this. Her deplorables comments were snobbery. Basically, these people, a lot of the people who aren't supporting me, they're deplorable. They're wicked. They're evil. They're below me. They're not truly American. They're unpatriotic. They're racist. So basically, some 20, 30 million people in the country are virulent, despotic bigots, including some of these people that, by the way, they're not white. They're not white Christian males like you would like to cast them off. You're basically insinuating that 20, 30 million people are one step away from Ku Klux Klan mode, and that's why they're not voting for you. Meanwhile, you're talking about how great Robert Byrd was. Yeah, Hillary Clinton is a snob. Obama comes off as personable, but he doesn't like being challenged by people who he ultimately sees or wants to see as below him. There's the problem with the Democratic Party. The neoliberals have a big problem with being perceived of as simply not caring. It's not the platform. It's not the tax proposal. It's not anything. It's everything encapsulated in simply appearing to not care. Being aloof. They're too involved with seeming polite and academic. They don't understand how the working class man operates. Trump, meanwhile, he comes out, he swears, he eats junk food, he talks about, guns and all this other stuff. Now, part of that's not authentic, it's just him play acting. He's not a gun nut. He's not a NASCAR watching redneck. He's a Manhattan sociolete. But he does appear to get, the optics are far better for him. He looks like he cares. And if you look at his tax plan, hell, that's one big hell of a care. It's great caring for the Rust Belt. It's really going to help some of those jobs come back. It's going to help Ma and Pa's store not go under because Walmart moved in next door. It's going to be good for the economy. And when that becomes evident, the optics of this situation, this sort of nonsense, is going to get worse. Hillary Clinton is insulting a quarter of the country. I wonder why CNN doesn't want to talk about it very much. Could it be because she already did this, alienated millions of people who may have voted for her? Her deplorable speech was the biggest mistake in modern political history. Literally, because not only did it encapsulate the elitism and snobbery, not only did it encapsulate the Democratic Party as being woefully out of touch with a lot of voters who really, they care about jobs, they care about the economy, they're like, who fucking cares about your moral beliefs? You shouldn't be imparting them in the first place. And she alienated, because of the expansive nature of the comments made, people who may have supported them. They were soft Trump supporters. Maybe they kind of wanted to vote for Hillary. They were waiting for her to embrace one platform or another, or say one thing they would like. They wanted to know a little more about her as a candidate. They weren't really on board with Trump. Or they were maybe going third party, but they're like, oh, I'm a Democrat, but I'm not so sure about Hillary. She seems a little bit shrill. And then she comes out and makes that comment. They're like, oh, come on. I can't vote for her. I can't vote for someone who's calling tens of millions of people irredeemable. Including, in some cases, that person themselves. They're like, hey, I resemble that description. I've been fucked by the Obama recovery because there wasn't any recovery from me. And I'm being told to just suck it up and pay more in taxes. Well, screw you. I'm going to vote for Donald Trump out of spite now. He won the election in part because of this, especially when you look at the 3 states that were close. When you're looking Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, very close voting in these states. Rust Belt, very much affected by this particular kind of dialogue. It is within the realm of possibility that if Clinton hadn't made that one speech, she would have won the election. Or if she had just gone and campaigned in a few small town communities in each of these states, she could have flipped enough votes to get a state or two. She could have won the election. Florida was close. She doesn't bother going to maybe a blighted small town community in the Panhandle. It's like, oh yeah, we regress to bayou, mode because, the one factory we had is gone. She never wanted to go there. No, she'd rather go to Orlando. She'd rather go to Miami, party with little Marco and go snort some Coke or Adderall or whatever the fuck he was on at the debate that he kept popping there. There's her problem. Being aloof, being out of touch, and now she's doing it again. This is after a year of her book tour and blaming everyone else anyway. The pink hats, I wish they had shown up in this large of numbers at the ballot boxes, she says. If only more of you had voted. No, they did. That's why you got so many extra votes in California. They showed up, and a bunch of felons probably showed up as well with fake IDs. Yeah, I think there were some dead people voting in California. Look, it's not a national problem. I'm not going on the bandwagon of voter fraud here. But in California, yeah, it's a problem. It's so heavily blue, it doesn't matter in a state like that. It's not exactly up in play. It's like Wyoming. It's heavily red by, 100 million votes. I don't think you're going to flip the state. It would look a little conspicuous. Oh yeah, California voted heavily for Trump. At that point, I think you could make an argument for Russian collusion, a little bit of election interference. Hillary Clinton is one of those people who just doesn't want to be told that she's wrong, because she thinks that she's right about everything. To her, the only person she wants to help is Hillary Clinton. Maybe Bubba and Chelsea, and maybe Huma. Okay, her very, very close inner circle. Those are the only people in the world she gives a damn about. She doesn't care about even the Democratic Party. Look, she spent a year destroying their platforms. She spent a year blaming other Democrats for her failures. She spent a year lambasting them, saying, oh, the DNC abandoned me. Bernie Sanders appealed to people saying he could promise them the moon on a stick, and he's just out there and he doesn't know what he's talking about. And all sorts. And by the way, these people are deplorable, and these Democratic voters are irredeemable. They didn't come out and Pokemon go to the polls enough. Then she says that she has the gall then, a year later, a year on, a year and a half past the deplorable speech almost now, a year and many months at least. Then she comes out and says, oh, well, dynamic areas voted for me. No, you're wrong. Areas that recovered didn't have an economic reason to vote for Trump because they did feel there was an Obama recovery. For them, the money thing was largely off the table. Of course you're going to win those areas. Because they're not blighted. You represent the status quo. So if the status quo is good, yeah, people are going to vote for the status quo probably. They're not going to vote for the dude who's saying, hey, I'm Donald Trump and I'm fucking crazy. I'm going to tear up this rule. I'm going to get rid of this tax. And I'm going to change everything. But if you think that things aren't going well, you voted for Trump. Now then, Trump is implementing his proposals. He's making the economic situation over in his image. I bet there are going to be a lot more people that want the status quo in 2020. I don't care about claims that he's a bigot, he's a sexist. Trust me, by 2020, people aren't going to care and have too much money to care. They're not going to care if he's a bigot. He's a bigot who makes them money. At that point, which would you rather have? Someone who's brash, unkind, anti-PC, but hey, he saved me 5-6 grand, and there are more jobs. You know, Joe, he's employed now. He's not working double shift at Wendy's. He's got a real job. You know, he's 70 years old. He shouldn't have to do double shift at Wendy's because his pension didn't kick in for some reason, because Detroit went bankrupt. People are doing better. Everything around me is better. The sidewalks are a little bit cleaner. The lamps work a little more reliably. The cars around here are a little bit less rusty. There are fewer broken windows. People are going to notice that. They're going to notice the change in the aura. They're going to have hope again. That's why they're going to vote for Donald Trump. And then there's going to be this sort of stuff. The Democrats may very well have another stupid candidate who makes dumbass comments like this. And by the way, a lot of us are going to remind you of those comments anyway, because she's still the face of the Democratic Party. Who else is the face of the Democrats right now, Who other than Hillary Clinton, the last presidential candidate they fielded? Is it Gillibrand? Well, now she's sort of disappeared back in the woodwork. Elizabeth Warren now says she won't run. You know, she's kind of, I think she's older than Trump too. It's like you look at the Democratic field and they've got a couple people that are too inordinately young to the point where I think at least one of them can't run in 2020. And then people who are, you know, in a rocking chair. They're in their mid-70s. Joe Biden's 75 years old. He's half a decade older than Trump. Is he really going to run for the presidency? Would he survive a single term? Probably not. The toll it takes on someone, he'd stroke out. Dude, half of the presidents we've had have died in office, died afterwards from heart attack and stroke. Some of them die in office. That's how strenuous the job really is. Trump's wise to go golf at Mar-a-Lago a lot. Yeah, he's looking after his health. He realizes if he's going to sleep 4 hours a day and bounce around and probably burn 3,000 calories, he needs that Big Mac too. He's in fine now. He's in fine shape. He'll probably make it through 2 full terms. Yeah, absolutely. Joe Biden, no, yeah, I think it'd be iffy. I don't think he could beat Trump anyway, especially when he'd just be compared to Hillary Clinton. Oh, yeah, you remember, you were working for that dude who hired Hillary Clinton, thought it was a great idea. Why should we trust you? Yeah, I think that might become a campaign problem. That's about all. Peace out.